You starting, Alex? We're live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live with our group on Facebook, Athletes Who Settle for More. This will also be on our YouTube Live, our YouTube channel, and an episode for our new podcast, So Connected Sports. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about NFL kickers. And Mom, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
Well, okay, so yes, I'm Alex's mom. And I'm the owner and co-founder, or I always say co-founder, like that doesn't make any sense. I'm the owner of So Connected, and my company provides mental strength coaching for athletes. We specialize in mental blocks and mental disconnects and eliminating them. And we wanted to go on today and talk about the NFL kickers because I don't know about you guys, but we're all from Minnesota. And I am a Minnesota Vikings fan. And let me tell you, being a Minnesota Vikings fan and watching some of the history with our kickers has been exhausting. And we all, as Minnesota Vikings fans, understand this frustration. So I thought it was a great topic for us to kind of look at. And also, all of us can relate to this situation, whether you have a young football player or a gymnast as a daughter or son, or your husband or you are an NFL kicker. And we're referencing an article called Scouting Kickers, the Mental Process. And we'll also put that in the comment section so this article can be seen by everybody. But that's what we're going to take. We're going to take some points out of this article and talk about them and discuss some of the issues and solutions for some of these problems that the kickers may be having mentally. So Alex and Claire, why don't you guys introduce yourselves so we can share a little bit about what you guys got going on too.
Sure. Claire, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Claire Sanoa. I am a mental strength coach, the newest addition to the team on So Connected. And I am also currently a D1 softball player for the University of Minnesota. I'm in my third year, and I'm just super excited for this opportunity to work for this great company for Stacy and Alex and, get to help students of the game all around.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Alex Ostendorf. I am also a mental strength coach for So Connected, and I also happen to be Stacy's son. So I too am interested to talk more about this because it just seems so crazy how many kickers, the Vikings alone have gone through, and just hearing some things about some other kickers and what they're going through and how nobody really has a solution for it besides getting rid of that kicker and finding someone new. So,
yeah, I find it really interesting. Let's just get started here. There's a mentality about how they recruit kickers, and the topic in this particular paragraph is, kickers need to be studied in terms of how these skills allow them to repeat the same kicking process as precisely as possible every time. And I thought that was interesting because I get the idea. We want the kicker to be able to focus on what he needs to do to kick that ball the same way every time. The problem with that is, if you think of it in a general sense, is if I have an athlete who was really successful, maybe she got a PR as a swimmer, or maybe she got a 9.9 as a gymnast, or maybe they were just like on. The problem with trying to repeat that process consciously is that you can't. It's like it's a new time. It's a new situation. Now, I get the idea of it. I want that kicker to be able to think about his technique and his form and how he wants to do the process, but it's not a conscious thing. It's more of the solution is to get that kicker to understand how he's doing it mentally. What strategy is he using when he was successful? If I have a swimmer that got a PR, I want her to know what was she doing mentally to connect to her body in that situation? Was it something was she feeling through her strokes, seeing through them, talking through them, thinking through them? What was she doing mentally to be successful in that situation? Because with that, when you are consciously aware of what you're doing unconsciously successful, then you can do it more often. You can practice it. So what happens with a kicker, let's say they fumble the snap, he can still manage himself and do what he needs to do because he's he's feeling his way through the kick. He's seeing his way through it. So if there is something that gets in his A circle or something that distracts him, he still is following the same strategy. And it puts him in a position to be successful, even in a situation that isn't perfect for him.
Yeah.
And so I find it really, oh yeah, go ahead.
One of my favorite things about this job and how we can help is when we have sessions with our athletes and we go back and we figure out, what is their own personal recipe for success, and just that look on their face of like, oh, I didn't know I had that. Like they didn't know they had the confidence that they have inside them. I think that's what I feel like you're talking about here is like, what is that? It's not that we're trying to repeat exactly what we did, but we want to know how we did it. How were we successful? And that's one of the things we'll talk a little bit more about.
For sure. And to add on to this, I forgot to mention that I've been a client of Stacy's for a long time. And now being on the flip side of it, still being in sports and, being a D1 athlete, I get to coach myself and view it as a client from both sides. So I get to actually do this every single day for myself during practice. I get to go into a hitting session and be like, okay, what worked really well yesterday? What didn't work really well yesterday? And what strategies was I using? What strategies was I not using? And going through that each day and kind of, just making that my own recipe. And it's okay. Like sometimes it changes, each week the recipe can be a little different depending on what I'm feeling. But having those skills to go back and understand what strategy I was using and how that worked and affected me has made me super successful on and off the field.
And I think both of you, I think this particular article and really a lot of the articles that I'm really digging into to talk about is there's this idea that the doing strategy becomes the go-to strategy. We need to make it physically as robotic as possible. And I think that's a great idea. Like, more numbers, more, more kicks at different places. All of it's relevant. And I'm not saying that there isn't a huge value into obviously getting the numbers in. I have a Division I gymnast daughter who, she needs to get numbers in to be successful for her sport. But I think what we want to add to that is this mental connection to the body so that they understand what to do in the moment to support themselves to do their best in that situation. Because like in this article, it says, unfortunately, there's no way to transform the kicker into some Pat 9000 is what they say, to automate the process and make every attempt. Kickers are human, and as such, they're subject to the entire spectrum of human thoughts, emotions, and other cognitive chaos. And that's obviously true. But they don't realize that we can teach a person to manage those thoughts, energy, emotions, feelings, because we have a technique called A circle that provides that ability for them to be aware of what is in their A circle and what was controlling them or what could distract them from them being able to kick the ball the way they want to. And so there's this interesting thing for me that I want to get out where we can teach mental strength. You don't just have it or you don't. Tom Brady has an amazing mental strength, goal beyond the goal mentality. But the fact if he understood how he was doing that, he could use it even more often. He could be even better because we see every really great athlete at some point not be able to mentally do what they know they can do in every situation. And it can be taught. And I think that that's what's really exciting for us is to get that out there so that people do know that they can achieve those goals and they can be their best in any situation, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, and speaking about that, when you mentioned Tom Brady, Adam Vinatieri is a kicker for the Colts, and there was an article about him and how He has the most points in the NFL, and being such a successful kicker, they mentioned even he has a mental block, and he doesn't know how to get past that, and so he's just trying to repeat and trying to just stay positive, and it's not working for him. And the result is they had 6 kickers try out for the team to getting ready to replace him. So that kind of ties us back to kicking. Even the best of the best, like Stacy said, can have these issues. So
you have something to say, Claire? No.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for me, as I said, currently being an athlete, this is so important to have these skills even before you need them. At least knowing what I know now, I always say this, I wish I could have found Stacy earlier, but if he had the skills and strategies that we have, he would have been able to fix this game 1 or 2. He would have been able to look back and say, this is what I wasn't doing well, and this is how I fix it. And he wouldn't have to be worried about these other 6 trying out. He wouldn't have to be worried about losing his job. And all of that is just adding on to the pressure and stress of not knowing how to fix this, and he's saying, to quote him, actually, he calls them demons in his head in the article. And if he was able to have these strategies, all of these things wouldn't be piling on because he doesn't know how to get rid of them. He doesn't know how to fix it. He doesn't know how to get rid of them. And so just the stress of his coach, his teammates counting on him, all of this stuff is in his A circle, and taking control and not allowing him to really dive down into what the problem is and what is not working.
And you bring up a really important point, because at the end of the day, what's happening is when we've got an athlete that they're just doing it and things are going well, what happens is there's always a moment in time where it doesn't work. And once that doing strategy doesn't work, and all of a sudden, maybe he misses a kick. And now he's like, oh my gosh, like what? I'm going to lose my job. Or now what's the coach going to say? What happens is once there's a disconnect mentally between the mind and the body, then all kinds of things get between the mind and the body. And that's what people are seeing. Those are the symptoms of the problem. If you're seeing lack of confidence or blocking or hesitation, or they're worried about getting injured, self-negative talk, all of those things are what I call in their A circle, and those things are controlling them. It's like when you go to a football game and you hear everybody go, don't fumble, and then they fumble. Or a basketball game, they're like, don't foul, and of course then they foul. If we're thinking about what we don't want to have happen, that's what we're bringing to us. The unconscious mind doesn't hear the not. And so by people understanding what A circle is, that they have an A circle, and that they are in charge of what's in their A circle, and the awareness of what in the past was controlling them, then they can manage it. And that's what's so powerful for these athletes and for us in general. If I've got anxiety in my A circle, and now I know I have one, it's not that it's good or bad or right or wrong. The awareness that it's there gives me the ability to go, okay, that's not fun. What do I need to do? How do I want to manage it? What am I worried about? How can I be in my A circle with my anxiety? How can I look at it from a perspective of, is it helpful? Is it not helpful? What do I want to have in my A circle? Just by people knowing they can be in their own A circle and communicate what they need changes the whole game. But in these athletes, can you imagine an NFL kicker? They're like, oh my God, what if I don't do this? We're not going to win. I'm going to lose my job. We're going to have to move again. It'll
be like a laughing stock. Like for the Vikings, I've always felt, I tend to be a little bit on the softer side. So I always have felt so bad that like this person's life is just ruined. Like how are they going to get a job? How, because people are so awful, like on Twitter, and like saying like, oh, they missed that kick and all these things. And it's just like, oh, what if there was a way that, we could stop that from keeping happening? And we do.
Yeah. And managing your A circle. And there's a lot more to it. A lot of us have a lot of sabotaging mentality that keeps coming back into our A circle. our paradigm and our beliefs and our values from old, and before the age of 10, we don't have the ability to differentiate what's said to us from what's true about us. So we can pick up a lot of things that are sabotaging us, but there's always a solution for anything mentally going on in our A circle. And that's the good news. I get the benefit and we get the benefit of working with people who are constantly moving into the success mentality instead of getting sabotaged and getting kicked out of their body and reoccurring those injuries and patterns of really mental blocks and different things that can hold people back. And so this is just an example. If an NFL kicker could understand his A circle and understand how to manage what is in his A circle and know what strategy to use to focus on how he wants to move his body to kick the ball the way he needs to and the way he wants to, that would eliminate a lot of the things that happen at the end of a game, in a playoff situation, in the Super Bowl, and all kinds of things like that I think are, would give people the ability to perform in their potential, which is what So Connected is about. Yeah. Okay. So what else do they have here? So I think that, what they're trying to also say in this article is, like you were saying, Alex, it comes back to the ability for this athlete to have a solution. It's like they think as soon as that guy has a bad mindset, it's over. And I think that is such a common thing for college athletes, for even high school athletes. And, it's like, we'll just get a new catcher. We'll just get a new pitcher. You're done. You can't do it. And there's just this idea that there isn't a solution for this problem. And I think we can all experience a negative idea in our A circle that we've been able to work through and change so that you can do something different. And that's about as simple as it gets, but it's unfortunate that that's the business of what is going on.
Yeah. And I think too, focusing on the solution and what you're saying is another possible solution is what we would call healing through time. And I would just like you to talk a little bit about that and kind of what that is, because with these kickers, the article mentions like the level of embarrassment that happens when a kick is blocked, and how that might need a little bit more work to do mentally to move past that. And I think of one of So Connected strategies called healing through time. And I don't know if you want to just, talk a little bit about that, Mom, and kind of, what happens when we move past that.
Well, healing through time is an amazing technique that eliminates sabotaging mentality. So for instance, if my daughter is she's a Division I gymnast now, but when she was, say, 8 years old, if a coach says to her, Olivia, that was a terrible bar routine, she could perceive that as, okay, that was terrible bar routine. I need to work on that. She could also perceive it as, I'm terrible at bars and I'm never going to be good. And so before the age of 10, we don't have the ability to differentiate what is said to us from what's true about us from the people we trust. And so what happens is I get that idea grooved into my neurology and I behave according to that mentality. And what happens then is I build on that over time. So if I'm thinking I'm terrible at bars, I'm going to behave according to that idea. And then down the road, when I can't do my bar routine, when that's still sabotaging me, that mentality, we can work with that person on a present day issue and go back to the root cause of the original disconnect. So where that person got that idea from that situation, from that idea, from that coach, from that parent. If my mom says to me when I'm 8 that I'm fat, I'm going to believe according to the idea of what I think fat looks like, and I'm going to put myself into that box. And then when I can go back to that situation, I can be like, oh, my mom was just crabby. Or, it wasn't even about me. It was a situation that, I wasn't fat. I was just like eating a whole box of ho-hos that day and whatever. She just was, reacting to that because I like ho-hos, you know? And then, but when we go back and we look at a situation, it shifts our mindset because we know a lot more now than we did when we were 8, and we see things from a different perspective. But that's a huge part in being able to shift our mindset, shift mentality, because as soon as you see it different, it regrooves the neurology, and then moving forward, you're automatically different.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple but very profound strategy to help people get rid of sabotaging mentality or old limiting beliefs that are no longer helpful. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth it. All those really deep ideas that we have about ourselves can be shifted and replaced. And that's great because Claire, you're such a great example of somebody who has really worked hard at, and going through COVID, and we've all gone through COVID and all this stuff. You really worked hard at. Now, I think you said to me, you're like, I could just kick things out of my A circle. It's just like, boom, why is that there? I don't need it. It's great, but you've had to work hard at kind of removing some of those layers for yourself so that you could just be more comfortable in your own A circle and not letting those old ideas about yourself and fear and doubt and worry and other people in there from when you were 6, in your A circle.
For sure. And the first thing that came to my mind that we've talked about in the past too is you're not the problem. Like, you and the problem are not an identity. The problem is not part of your identity. So we need to work on disassociating that, because that's, in my opinion, that's step 1 of the healing journey. You have to understand that it's not part of your identity. And once you understand that, you can start the healing. And once I learned to be able to do that and understand, if I strike out, that's okay. Like, it's not great. It's not what I wanted to do, but that's not a part of my identity. That's not going to control me. That's not going to be in my A circle. And I'm going to understand and learn from that situation and go into the next at-bat with a better mindset and better strategies. So for sure, I think go ahead.
Well, you just brought it back to A circle, that, which is so great about A circle is it dissociates the person from the behavior or from the problem. Mm-hmm. And with that space, people can see it differently.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. I spend a lot of time I work with a lot of gymnasts and a lot of young athletes, through Olympians and, a lot of things, but I spend a lot of time making sure that they know that they are not the problem and that it's not their fault that they have this mental thought process controlling them, because we're so hard on ourselves. How many of you have perfectionist people in your life? And as soon as it doesn't go according to that mentality, they mentally leave their body, they bail out. And that's not what they want. But being able to separate them from the behavior, from the issue, from the anxiety, from the fear, from the thought process, I'm not good enough. That is so powerful for people, because then I tell them, it's just a thought. It's not even accurate about you. So we can practice thinking of, okay, is that helpful to have that thought in my A circle? Is it not helpful? It gives them the ability to shift their mindset one thought at a time. And that's a huge benefit to practicing, so that moving forward, they're more congruent, one thought at a time. It gives them the power over their thoughts, which is extremely valuable for people. Just think if you had power over all your thoughts. We do.
It really gives you your A circle back. It gives you the power to your A circle back, because you are not equal to the problem.
Exactly. And I think people need to know that. I don't care if you've got, whatever issue we have, you're not equal to it. You are so much. In my children's book for gymnasts, I have in the front page, you are so much more than what you think you are, and so much more than that. Mm-hmm. And that's so important for people to know, that you are so much more than even what you think you are. Mm-hmm. So much more than that.
And even to bring it back to the kickers, once they miss that kick or it gets blocked, right away, you can even tell in their body language right away, they go, I'm equal to the problem. I'm equal to that fail. I'm equal to that miss. And right then and there, that's when that mindset flips. And all these, like you called them demons, all these mental blocks start coming in. And so that's exactly what we've been talking about today. And exactly what you can see through all these kickers is they are setting themselves equal to the problem. And so they're not even able to start using the strategies or start finding a solution because they're seeing themselves as equal.
Yeah. And then anything that anybody says about them, they're like, yeah, they're right. If it's negative, they're like, oh yeah, I deserve that because I failed, basically.
Exactly, because they are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go watch it 55,000 times on social media and in film, and it's just grooving that, how many football players see themselves fumble and then they go back and they watch it 55,000 times and it's just regrooving the problem into their neurology.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that we can do to support people to be able to perform into their potential. And, today we're talking about NFL kickers, and I'm a Vikings fan, and I want them never, ever, ever to miss a kick. I know things happen, but really it's not about missing the kick or making the kick. It's really about giving people the ability to be successful so that they can give themselves the best result possible. That's what's really fun is once they have the strategy and they know what works best for them, then they can practice it and do it. Nobody can argue with you if you're doing your best, even if it doesn't go in, even if it doesn't go through the upright. So anything else you guys want to add for today about our topic today with NFL kickers?
I just wanted to add one last thing to the sentence you just said too. And you can't be mad at yourself if you're giving it all. You're all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I've learned the past couple of years that has been super helpful for me, that if I'm giving it my all, if I'm using my strategies, and not every day is going to go perfect, and that's okay. We can be okay with that. So
absolutely,
I wanted to mention that too.
Exactly. That's the thing I tell athletes all the time. You are successful. You are a successful athlete. So act like it.
Yeah. Right.
And then we can keep learning. We can keep building. We can keep practicing. But if you're mentally connected and you're doing your best in that situation, even if it wasn't the best decision, nobody can really argue with you about it because we can only do our best in the moment. That's the only thing we have control over.
Yeah, that's the last thing I would say too. Basically the same thing you said, but you're not broken, so you don't have to act like it.
Yeah. Good message for today, you guys. I appreciate you both being here with me. We're going to be back again next Wednesday, 2:00 Central Time. And we're adding podcasts. We've got this YouTube channel. Please, if you like it, I think I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe. We're working on it, but hopefully you learned something for yourselves today to take with you. And as always, connect with us at so-connected.com. Also, Athletes Who Settle for More is a great resource for people to get to know us. It's a private group on Facebook. All right, you guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here with me, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.